This project came about because my boss at my full-time job referred me to a client that called in needing a small order of brackets made immediately. I soon learned that the brackets were for mounting cell phone antennas on water towers, and my new client, Slack Painting, repainted and repaired water towers all over the country. When they learned that I had a mobile rig, I was offered the opportunity for on-site work. The next assignment was to pull a giant vacuum to South Dakota so they could clean up the sandblaster sand prior to repainting. Then I was supposed to weld a large flange onto the very top of the water tower. Now you must understand that I am terrified of heights. I assumed my nephew, whom I drafted to come with me, wouldn't be. When we arrived on site, it became obvious that this was going to be interesting, as the tower was a little taller than I was told, and we were having at least 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Despite my fear, I climbed into the spider basket with Nick, and we began our ascent. At about 60 feet, I started singing hymns. I don't sing. At 80 or 90 feet, I stopped singing and started praying. Soon I was silent, and the atheist next to me became very nervous. His fear, among others, was that I had fainted, and he didn't want that big of a dead weight hanging off-center of him. I'm a bad counterweight. Also, he found the limit as to how high up he could go himself. It was his job to turn on the GoPro when we borrowed and film the trip up the tower, but with the wind and unexpected height, he was too scared to turn it on. After swinging back and forth 15 feet or so in a circle, as we got as high as the air-powered basket would climb, it was hooked to the bottom of the catwalk. It was then that I realized that my wore-out shoulders wouldn't haul my heavy carcass out of the basket and up and over the rail onto the catwalk. Nor could my nephew climb out, because if either of us left, the basket would tip and we'd be hanging all funny. After he got out, if he could get out, he didn't know for sure if he could bail over a perfectly good safety rail back into the basket to get back down. So we sat up there for about 15 minutes figuring this out, and we came to the conclusion the only option was to go back down and try going up the center of the tower. Then we could walk out on the catwalk without climbing over anything and just go up the ladder to the top. Problem, there's no juice, there's no go. There's no air power to come back down. The welding lead that we brought up with us, part of it had come disconnected about halfway up, and another crew had stolen our airline to come up and reconnect it. And the crew chief on the ground, Monty, he's kind of said, if you have any problems, call me on my cell phone. So we're up there trying to call him, can't get through to him. Finally, we're able to holler loud enough to get his attention. And once communication's achieved, and we got back on the ground, it took 5 minutes for me to make my legs stop shaking well enough to climb out of that basket. Those guys were laughing. Wow, you tried that? And, you know, that kind of thing. You're like, if you're that scared of heights, you're almost nuts for trying. But I have utmost respect for those guys. They do a very special kind of work that only a few can do. And I wound up not completing the job. I wound up lending them my extra leads and going back home. But Mr. Slack was kind enough to pay me for hauling that thing down there. And we were talking later, and we agreed that it's okay if I just do this stuff on the ground. And we did get some footage of the trip out there. What you're looking at now is me making the actual brackets. But then the next bit of video will show us at the hotel getting ready to go out to the site. But there again, once we got out to the site, things were so busy and the wind was so bad, we were just kind of focused on getting it done. And then we all got scared. Well, my nephew and I did. So, what comes next is the footage we did get. I apologize for the wind here in South Dakota, but we just got done staying at Quality Inn and Suites here, and it's a wonderful hotel. We're right across from the Terry Redland Museum over there, and today's the day I climbed to the top of a water tower and weld. There's the rig. The boss man here asked me to bring down his giant vacuum for cleaning up after the sandblaster, and shot back. Yeah, and there's the rig, and we're headed the last hour and a half to the job site here. So everybody gets to see me go way up in the sky. I am conversing with my creator very in depth right now. I'm very scared of heights. Off in the distance, you can see the tower I'm going to be working on. It's twice as tall as the other one I thought we were working on, and but it looks a lot more, I don't know, sturdy, I guess you could say. I'm still scared out of my mind.